This is the Tombigbee Tales, and I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I write about a small town in northeast Mississippi called Columbus. Sometimes I write about the rest of the state. Tonight's episode is about the Welcome Center of the Tennessee Williams Building in Columbus, Mississippi. Whoa, so where do we begin? Today we're diving into a local controversy that's been brewing in Columbus surrounding the Tennessee Williams Welcome Center for quite some time. This is a continuation of some of the same issues that have been addressed on this podcast. As a matter of fact, these issues are what actually prompted the beginning of this podcast. This story involves questions about funding, transparency, and the promised installation of a statue honoring the famous playwright Tennessee Williams, whose hometown and birthright was in Columbus, Mississippi. Let's break down the situation and explain its various facets. Before we delve into the controversy, let's briefly discuss why Tennessee Williams is significant to Columbus. Born Thomas Lanier Williams III on March 26, 1911, in Columbus, Mississippi, his grandfather was the rector of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. His home was and is still the former rectory of St. Paul's, and it was where Reverend Dakin and his wife lived with his daughter and her son, Thomas. One of America's greatest playwrights of the 20th century, Tennessee Williams is known for works like A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He spent his early years in Columbus before moving to Clarksdale and then to St. Louis by age 8. Williams won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for drama and the New York Drama Critics Circle Awards. His childhood home in Columbus is now the Welcome Center, was built in 1875, and was the rectory of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, where his grandfather served as minister. Williams's connection to Columbus runs deep, with many of his works drawing inspiration from his southern roots and early experiences in Mississippi, including Columbus. This makes the Welcome Center not just a local attraction, but a site of national literary significance. In November of 2024, the Tennessee Williams Center reopened its doors after undergoing a substantial $300,000 renovation. This renovation aimed to restore the historic home and enhance its appeal as a cultural landmark. The project included structural repairs to the foundation and walls and to replace the porch. All of these repairs were basically due to 14 years of neglect by the current director of the foundation. It also was done for restoration of period-appropriate plaster and paint that had been cracking and peeling and chipping, as well as ceiling repairs and exterior painting of the building. In announcing the reopening ceremony on her personal Facebook page, Nancy Luke Carpenter, director of the Columbus Cultural Heritage Foundation, also called CCHF, made an exciting additional announcement. The long-awaited statue of Tennessee Williams would be installed in the front yard of the building this winter. Some of the details of that statue project include that it was commissioned thanks to a generous $75,000 foundation donation from Miss Dixie Butler, a longtime patron of the arts in Columbus. It is planned to be a life-size bronze sculpture of Williams depicting him seated on a bench at the height of his career. It is designed by a renowned Mississippi sculptor known for his lifelike portrayals of historical figures, including Eudora Welty and William Faulkner. It is intended to serve as a focal point for visitors and photography, positioned to allow interaction and photo opportunities in this cultural space. So where's the statue? As months have passed since the reopening and Carpenter's announcement, concerned citizens and Tennessee Williams enthusiasts have begun to ask questions. There are no visible preparations for the statue's installation, at least none that have been observed, such as ground marking or fencing off the areas. The front yard remains untouched with no groundwork or concrete pouring for the proposed statue. Questions arise about the additional $25,000 needed for installation costs. Where will this money come from? Has it been secured? And if not, what's the plan to raise it? The community wonders about the timeline for the project's completion. Is there a specific deadline set? Have there been unexpected delays? What's the new estimated completion date if there have been delays? The lack of information has become a significant point of contention. Nancy Carpenter has not provided any updates about the project status since November, and even that was not a status update. There's no information about the statue's current location. Is it still with the artist undergoing final touches, or is it still with the foundry for casting in Atlanta? Has the casting process been completed? If so, when will the statue arrive in Columbus? Concerns are also growing about the management of the donated funds. Has the original $75,000 donation been properly allocated? Are there records of payments made to the artist or the foundry related to that donation? Is there a detailed budget breakdown available for public review? This isn't the first time questions have been raised about project management under the current leadership of Nancy Luke Carpenter. A notable incident from many years ago has resurfaced. Money was previously raised for a Tennessee Williams tribute sign that were to go up around Columbus. Funds for the signs, at the time approximately $14,000, mysteriously disappeared from a project budget. The CVB board president at the time, DeWitt Hicks, reimbursed donors, allegedly out of his own personal pockets, to avoid a scandal. This incident seems to have been forgotten and just swept under the carpet until recent events brought it back to light via this podcast. No formal investigation was conducted at the time, leading to questions about accountability. Many questions about accountability. The financial aspects of the Welcome Center and its associated projects have come under scrutiny. A $54,069.69 check from the city for grant matching funds was issued in late fall of 2024. Questions arise about how this money was spent. Was it used to pay for renovation work as stated in the grant application? The foundation requested over $130,000 in CVB funding for 2025 operations in the fall of 2024 from the CVB. This represents a significant increase from previous year's funding request. The foundation cited increased operational costs and expanded salaries. The CVB offered the foundation $88,000 with strict accounting requirements purely for operations and not for use for salaries. This would have included accountability measures such as monthly financial reports, itemized expense breakdowns, regular project updates. You know, the normal things that are required of grants. Surprisingly, Carpenter turned down the $88,000 flat. This decision raised eyebrows among many community members and leadership in the community. Speculation about why the foundation would refuse much needed funds is very obvious. Carpenter does not want accountability. Questions have arisen about the foundation's fundraising efforts since that turn down of the $88,000. There are claims of securing grants, but there's no support or visible evidence from Carpenter or her board that any grants have actually been secured anywhere. There are no announcements of successful grant applications, no public acknowledgement of grantors, no public fundraising campaigns or events have been observed. There's an absence of typical fundraising activities like galas, auctions, or crowdfunding efforts. Heck, if Nancy ever gets a dime from anybody, she runs as fast as she can to the newspaper and to the TV station and wants to crow about any of her accomplishments. I don't see that happening here. The community wonders about the financial stability of the foundation and their statue project. How is the Welcome Center sustaining its operations? Are there undisclosed funding sources? The controversy has now reached the county level. Carpenter is allegedly seeking $130,000 from county supervisors. This move is unusual. However, I wouldn't find it unusual from Nancy, as the county typically doesn't directly fund nonprofits. It does raise questions about the appropriate channels for funding cultural projects. Then there are concerns about setting a precedent for other nonprofits to bypass established funding processes. It has been suggested that an independent audit of the foundation should be conducted before any funds are allocated from anyone, state, city, or county, and that any funding from any agency at that city, county, or state level should demand stringent accountability guidelines and signatures from Carpenter and her board president or her treasurer to be required, with a commitment that they will be accountable before any grants or funding is delivered. This situation has brought to light broader concerns about financial management as directed by Nancy Carpenter in her role as executive director of the foundation. There are indications of cash flow issues within the foundation. It is alleged that there are late payments to vendors reported by local businesses, as well as delays in reimbursements for expenses. Carpenter has a history of questionable financial decisions that have emerged over the years. For instance, when she was the director at the CVB, she was constantly overspending on certain projects without clear justification. There was a lack of competitive bidding for contracts and many, many other infractions of questionable management of finances with any money that Carpenter's in charge of. The community is calling for greater transparency and accountability. Requests for the foundation to publish detailed financial statements are not out of line if you're giving them money. There will be calls for an independent audit of the organization's finances if they do receive any more funding. That would be a normal step. Suggestions to restructure the foundation's board to include more community oversight might actually be another good thing to do. The impact on this community is the ongoing controversy has several effects on it. It causes a decreased trust in local cultural institutions. Some donors are now expressing hesitancy about future contributions to the foundation. Questions about the management of other cultural projects in the city, especially anything connected to Carpenter, like serving on the board of the Sports Hall of Fame project. There are concerns about the city's ability to honor its literary heritage now. There are fears that the controversy might overshadow Williams' legacy locally. There are worries about the long-term sustainability of the Welcome Center, the potential negative impact on tourism and cultural education initiatives we've already seen over the years when Carpenter was next door at the CVB. There are tour operators expressing concern about the reliability of local attractions because of their experiences with Nancy Luke Carpenter in her role at both the Tennessee Williams Building and at the CVB. There are schools that might reconsider whether they come here to the Welcome Center on a trip, especially with the inconsistency of hours of operation and the leadership. Things like this cause division within the community. There will be some defending the foundation and its leaders, and there'll be others calling for immediate changes and increased oversight. As the community grapples with this issue, several potential solutions could be proposed. One, form an independent committee to oversee this project of the installation of the statue. Include representatives from the city, the county, and the community. Task that committee with ensuring transparency and progress on the project. Implement stricter financial reporting requirements of the actual foundation and its board, and require quarterly public financial statements be made available. There should be annual external audits, which they do have to some degree through the CVB, but there should also be clear project timelines with reporting of each milestone reached. There should be an exploration of alternative funding sources. She should consider putting together a community-wide crowdfunding campaign. She should seek corporate sponsorships from local and national businesses and apply for federal grants related to historic preservation. The leadership of the foundation should consider being restructured and bring in new board members with financial and project management expertise, rather just yes men and women for Nancy. There should also be some implementation of term limits for not only the board position, but also for the director's position. Creating a community advisory panel to provide input on major decisions at this point is probably a really good idea. The controversy surrounding the Tennessee Williams Welcome Center raises serious questions about financial management, transparency and accountability in cultural projects. As the situation develops, many in the community should be calling for answers and proper oversight to ensure the preservation of this important cultural landmark. The story of Tennessee Williams and his connection to Columbus is an integral part of the city's cultural heritage. It's crucial that projects honoring his legacy are managed with integrity and transparency. As this situation unfolds, it serves as a reminder of the importance of clear communication and responsible stewardship in community projects. The resolution of this controversy could set a precedent for how cultural institutions in small cities manage their affairs and interact with the community. It highlights the delicate balance between preserving historical legacy and ensuring fiscal responsibility. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops, bringing you updates on the statue project and the broader implications for cultural management in Columbus and accountability at the foundation. Until next time, this is the Tennessee Tombigbee Tales. This is the Tombigbee Tales signing off. Until next time.